We are recording, by the way, guys. So hopefully everyone will start jumping in. We have our guests that are starting to log in now, our participants. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Bold and Brave. We'll give everybody like about 2 minutes to jump in, and then we'll get started. We want to welcome everyone to the Bold and Brave Finance Edition. I am your host, Dr. Loretta Sanders, and I am so excited about all the guests that we have here today. But before I share with you about our guests, I want to talk to you a little bit about what it means to be bold and brave. I know we hear those words a lot, and sometimes we can lose them because we hear them so frequently. But when we talk about someone being bold and brave, we're talking about someone who was bold enough to say, I want something different. I want to do something different. And brave enough to walk in that change, because we all know that change can be difficult for most of us. Change is not normally the easiest thing to do. So today we're going to be talking about change, transforming, with being bold and brave with your finances. Each one of my guests today have a different individual story that they're going to share. We have our personal story, one of life and triumph, to a successful business owner who has managed to come from Pakistan to have over 100 successful businesses under his belt now today. Sit back, relax, and join us as we dive into Bold and Brave, the Finance Edition. Welcome. Welcome to my guests. Welcome, everybody. Hi. So first things first, we're going to jump in and I'm going to ask everyone to introduce themselves. Tell everybody your name, where you're from, and also give them just a tidbit about yourself, like 1 or 2 minutes, not too much, because we don't want to destroy. We want them to stay for your story. So just kind of tell them just a little bit about who you are. So we'll start off with Sandi. Can you give us your name, where you're from, and just a little bit about you?
Okay, so I'm Sandi Saksena. I prefer to be called Queen Sandi, rich. Okay, so why rich? 2 reasons. My maiden name was Richard, so rich. And of course, I'm into financial planning and financial independence for women. That's why the rich. So I'm from India, but I've lived most of my life in the GCC. So Kuwait, Bahrain, and now Dubai for the last 27 years.
Welcome, Queen Sandi. Welcome to the Bold and Brave family. Next, we're going to jump over to Dr. Roy.
All right. Good evening. Hello, everyone. My name is Roy Pope. Excuse me. Me and my wife, Carissa, we live in the UAE. We've been here for about 11 years. And our journey, what we're going to share, we're lifelong educators. So our journey is going to be about how we devised a plan to investing, what we invest in, where do you start from, what's the starting point, and that's it.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Roy. And also, Dr. Carisa, we're going to go ahead and bring in the team. Can you, darling?
Hello, I'm Carisa, or as my students say, Dr. Risa. As Roy said, we've been here in LA, UAE since 2013. Both of us are from Mississippi, USA, and we came here as educators and have since begun Ed Guru. And as Roy said, we're going to share with you some information or some tidbits of how we have taken our savings and starting investing.
Awesome. Thank you so very much. And my wonderful sister who is all the way in the UK, Miss Tendayi.
Hi, Dr. Loretta. My name is Tendayi Ndoro. I am based in the United Kingdom. I'm originally from Zimbabwe, but I've been here since I was 16 years old, so I'm not going to tell my age. But yeah, I'm passionate about equipping people, helping them design their life plans. I ran a mortgage and insurance business that helps people get onto the property ladder, sort out their life insurances. And I also run an educational program called Understanding Money, which is all about building generational wealth through financial literacy. That's me.
That is so very important. We talk about that often, is how important it is to continue to build generational wealth, not just for ourselves, but for the families, our children, our grandchildren, and our great children that come behind us. So I can't wait to hear what you have to say about that. So what we're going to do is we're going to start out with Queen Sandi. She's going to lead the way, because by far her story for sure is one of the boldest I have ever heard. I met Queen Sandi at one of the ladies' events a couple years ago, and right off the bat, we hit it off. She is just so full of life and joy, and it's the passion in what she do that excites me, and I know that that passion will rub off on you. Queen Sandi, are you ready?
Totally, my dear. Thank you. So,
On you.
am I on now?
Yes, you, dear.
Okay, fine. So, as I introduced myself, it's Queen Sandi, and that's how I like to be called. Now, my story is a little different because for the first 22 years of my marriage, and I got married when I was 22. So, I was very much the housewife, the mother, the wife, looking after my family. And as my husband's career grew and grew, obviously I got better and better. And although we come from middle-class families, and we were always careful with our money, as the money started pouring in, that frugal style of thinking and before you spend kind of thing sort of just flew out the window. And we started enjoying the high life, the excitement, the spending, not thinking, not worrying about anything, because it was all so good. It was easy street. And because I was not a working person, and a lot of family, social conditioning, the messages you get as you grow up, my job, I felt, was to be the good wife, the supportive wife, always keep a lovely home, make sure everything is okay for my husband when he came back, and devote my time to my children. But I have to tell you this, I had not regretted a single minute of that. However, when we moved from Bahrain to Dubai, the story changed because financial issues became a problem. My husband lost the contract that he had. And even at that stage, there was no communication about how are we going to manage, what are we going to do, etc. And I found myself in a very vulnerable position because we had so many expenses and there was no income. Nothing was coming in. And if you were in Dubai in 1996 and you wrote a check and it bounced, you went to jail. So we ended up in a very sorry situation. And my family chipped in to pay the bills. And there was tremendous stress on my husband. And he actually collapsed in a restaurant in Abu Dhabi. And that was my wake-up call. But fortunately for us, it was not a heart attack, but it was for me to make a decision. Was I going to sit at home and wring my hands and constantly pressurize my husband into, what are you going to do? When are you going to get money, whatever, or do something myself? So I decided I was going to do something. So from being Cinderella in the fast asleep in the passenger seat of my life, where somebody else was in control, I decided to take the steering wheel and drive myself forward. But you know what? At the age of 44, when you've never worked before, who's going to give you a job? So I faced a lot of issues about trying to get myself a job. And it was, lady, you're a middle-aged woman. You don't know anything about computers. You cannot type. You have no office experience. We are not willing to take a chance on you. And here's the other thing. Because you reach a certain age, people assume you can't learn. That's nonsense. Keep that in mind. That's rubbish. So I believe very strongly in myself. And I think that's the lesson that I would like to share with others. Belief and intent. When you believe in yourself and you're very clear in your intent, in what you want to do, what you have to do, don't let anything come in your way. So here I was being rejected, being told off by some rather rude people, but I never gave up. And eventually I got a job. And I got a job in what? Financial planning, insurance. I said, yeah, the universe is really telling me what I had to do. And I was very keen, like what would be my salary? Because I was thinking, how much money will I get every month so I can help pay bills? And my boss, who's still my boss today, said, there's no salary. It's only commission. And I said immediately, I don't want this job. I need a salary. And so he sat me down and he said, why are you restricting yourself to a salary? Why can't you be in charge of how much money you want to earn? And I thought to myself, wow, I've never ever looked at it because I had this tunnel vision and I wasn't looking beyond the salary, the fixed amount. And here I had the opportunity to actually decide how situation. Think about it, right? So I decided I was going to take this opportunity and I started my job. I didn't know anybody in the UAE, nobody, because I was here only 6 months. So here's the other lesson. If you want to get ahead, don't care about how embarrassing it will be. Don't care about how many no's you will get. Don't care about whether people are abrupt or rude. Just go ahead because you have an objective. You have a mission, and that is what you have to achieve. So here I was, full of enthusiasm, and I promised myself that I would never go home without at least meeting 3 people, because that is the target I set myself. So yes, it was a wonderful journey, but you know what? Along the way, what did I learn? I learned something very important. Number one, money. Remember this, money is your lifelong companion. You need money from before you were born till after you die. So don't ever forget that. Don't get sidetracked with other things in your life, because money is your lifelong companion. It is required by you all through your life. The other one is stop making excuses, right? Because when you make excuses, you're not fooling anybody, you're only fooling yourself. So my first principle that I'd like to share with you, and I tell everybody that I meet, all the presentations that I do, all the fact finds that I do, is this: pay yourself first. Not the house rent, not this, not that, not the school fees. No, pay yourself first. Is it easy to do? The answer is no, because you'll find 100 excuses not to do it. So what do you need to do? You need to have an automated system where at least 10% of your salary is taken away from you in a place that you cannot touch. And if you touch it, you will be penalized. That's number one. Number two, please feel free to spend all the money, 90% of it, please do spend it. There's no problem at all. But I have come across this, and I think you need to understand this also. Women especially, because I'm very focused on financial independence for women, they use many excuses not to save money. So the most important thing is to look upon these excuses, because I'm sure there are lots of people who are listening and this will resonate with you. Number one, money is too complicated for me to understand. Really? Well, when you have to spend it, and when you come across those fabulous discounts, Black Friday, Red Friday, White Friday, whatever, you easily calculate immediately what is the 40% discount or 20%. You don't even need a calculator for that. You don't even need to check it on your phone. You know exactly what it is. And you're so excited about what? Spending money. So don't tell me that money is too complicated to understand. It's not. It's pretty simple. Number two is, I don't have enough money. Oh, yes, you do. If you follow the 10% rule of paying yourself first, you still have 90% to spend, correct? And how are you going to manage that 90%? Be a little careful. Think about where you're spending your money. How many times you go to a shopping mall? Tell me this. How many times you go to a shopping mall, and if you're thirsty, you walk into not even the supermarket, you walk into a coffee shop and you buy a bottle of water for 6 dirhams. Really? 6 dirhams for a 1 dirham bottle because you didn't have the common sense to go and get it from the supermarket or even carry your own water? These are the small things. Then you have the next one. I don't have enough time. Well, you make the time. You have enough time to go out. You have enough time to wallow in self-pity. You don't have enough time to go on social media. You don't have enough time to talk about and think about what you should do with your money. Nonsense. Oh, here's the good one. Somebody else should be looking after this for me. Oh, I'm going to wait for that lovely man to ride in on his silver Ferrari, and he's going to make my life wonderful. I won't have to worry about anything. I'm talking from experience. Remember, I was in the passenger seat in this fabulous car that was being driven with all the luxury, and what happened then? So don't think about that. And especially if you're an unmarried person, please be financially responsible for yourself. It is not something that you can leave on anybody else. So this one is for all the people, and we have some people who are going to be talking about investments, etc. If I take risks, I'll lose everything. Yeah, but I'll go to Las Vegas and I'll come across this online trading, and just because it says I can make X amount of money, I'm going to do it. And then because I get my fingers burnt because I didn't learn, I didn't understand, then I blame everybody else, and so I'm not going to do anything. If you don't take a risk, you're never going to get anywhere. It's a risk when you sit in your car and you drive on the road. It's a risk when you get out of your car and walk out. So don't talk about risks, okay? And then, it's selfish to put myself first. Oh, really? I don't think so. If you don't put yourself first, who's going to do it for you? Is somebody else going to come along and say, oh, here you are, darling, you go first. Think about yourself first. No, you have to take responsibility. And if other people think you're self-centered, if other people think you're too proud, if other people think you are not paying attention to other people, so be it. You need to be responsible for you. If you are not responsible for you, you cannot take the responsibility of even looking after your children. So don't give this story about, I'm selfish to put myself first. And the last one, if I take charge, I will antagonize others. So in a relationship, and I can give you an example, my example, I wasn't taking care of anything. And then when I started taking charge and I wanted to do things differently and ask questions, did I meet resistance? The answer is yes. I was rocking the boat, yes. But in the end of the day, what was important? For me to stand my ground. And a lot of us are in that situation. We get married and immediately we think, oh, now the husband is going to take care of this, and this is his job, this is his department. No. It's not his department, it's your department, it is our department. And you need to take a stand on that. And if you're finding it difficult, you don't need to fight. You just have to be firm. That's all. Stick your ground and you'll get there. So these are the various excuses that I have faced from women when I was to do fact finds. And I have to tell you this, although I am so passionate about financial independence for women, most of my clients are men because they make a decision fast. A lot of my women clients, you know what they say to me? Oh, give us this proposal and we'll ask my brother or my father to look at it. And I always ask them this question. Are they in the financial planning industry? Are they in banking? Are they doing investments? What do they know? No, I just need their opinion. So I said, okay, a person who has no idea about this, you're going to ask them. And if they say yes, then you will commit to this. But when I'm giving you facts and figures, that's not enough for you. So again, it's that male, saying that, yes, you can do it, then they will do it. So I think you need to have a change in your mindset. So I'm continuing to talk, Dr. Loretta, but can you tell me how many minutes I've got left?
We're there, Sandi. You have done a wonderful job. Thank you so very much. I think you covered it all. I think you kind of straightened. You definitely talked about being brave and when you're making those decisions.
Yes.
Because sometimes making those decisions, it does mean taking care of myself first. It means that I pay myself first. It means
Yes.
that I make decisions about my personal finances that will impact me. And that is certainly brave, especially when it comes to many of our women and not even just parents in general. I think that's a parental thing because we want to take care of our kids first. We want to make sure our kids have everything. We want to make sure they have college tuition. We want to make sure that everything is okay for them. But we forget that one day they're going to grow up and go away. And we're going to still need to eat after they leave. So we have to be mindful, make those brave decisions to take care of ourselves first. And one of the other things that you said, and we've been talking about this ourselves, is about having all of the information that you need in order to change your life. This week, I shared a startling statistic with some of my people that were in my group. And immediately it was a lot of, and I had to say, wait, stop, wait a minute. We all know that there's causes to this, but we do know that it do not have to continue to go this pathway. Now that you have the information, now we have the ability to change the situation and change the way things are going. So I thank you so very much, Miss Sandi, Queen Sandi, for sharing that. Thank you so much, Queen Sandi, for starting us off and telling us all to go ahead and go forward and make those brave decisions in our lives. Thank you so very much, Miss Sandi. And also for those of you who may be interested in public speaking, I am hosting a public speaking masterclass coming up on December the 9th. It is only 200 dirhams. And we also have a public speaking group, a master club group that I share tidbits about how to become a master speaker. I share tidbits with them every other day. So if you would like to be part of that group, also you can just send me an email and I will also send you the message to be part of that group. And again, if you join me on the 9th, just for joining us here today, you will receive 50% discount on that as well. So that means that you will be able to attend the master speaking course for only 100 dirhams. Come on, you guys, you cannot beat that. We spent 100 dirhams at McDonald's for 100 dirhams, and we're keeping the class size down to only 12 people. So that way you can get that one-on-one coaching time that you so desire. So again, on December the 9th, we have the master's class coming up, 50% off for you, just because you're special and you decided to spend your evening with us. So that's only 100 dirhams. And then coming up in February, we have the Bold and Brave Relationship Edition. We're going to talk about how we can turn strangers into allies, building better relationships all the way. Thank you. As we transition from Miss Sandi, we're going to talk to two educators. We're going to move to our two educators, Dr. Roy and Dr. Carisa Pope. Both are, and the thing that I love about their story is they're educators. And for those of us who are educators, we know that we are not at the very top of the get paid pool. So we have to be wise in what we do if we want to live and have a good life after retirement, especially. Now, here's the thing, especially for those of us who have left the US and we've been gone for quite a few years, we're not paying into the Social Security system. And if you're not paying into the Social Security system, that is going to impact the amount of money that you're going to get when you retire from the government system. So I love to hear what Dr. Roy and Dr. Carisa has to say about investing and how they, as educators, was able to invest even in a foreign land to prepare themselves for a comfortable future of returning back home. I turn it over to you.
Good afternoon, good morning, good evening to everyone. As Loretta said, Roy and I are from Mississippi, and we have been in the UAE for almost 11 years now. So the story that we're going to share is how we turned our savings into investments, and just that mindset that you need to have before you invest. So I'm a teacher. I was a teacher, and we always do the 5 W's and the H, who, what, when, where, and why. So before you start investing, you have to have something to invest. So with savings, I always thought when I was saving, I was always one of those people who, even when I began teaching in 1997, bringing home $1,300 a month only, I was in Mississippi. So I was like, you know what? 10% to tithes, always. And I was going to save. Regardless of what happened, I was going to save, because I always had the mindset, what if? What if I, decide tomorrow I'm tired and I'm just going to resign? Or, or I have to face an illness, or something comes up in the family, or I get a divorce, or something, big happens in my life. I need to have savings there. And so even as I began teaching, making that amount of money, I was determined to save up at least 6 months' salary. And I would save and just set it aside, not knowing anything really about investing. So I had to decide who was going to save. What was I going to save? What was going to be my source of savings? I always was one to teach, but I always had a job or two also on the side. So I would always save that money. Then I had to put in my head, like, what am I going to save? When am I going to save? Where will I put the savings? Our grandmothers probably put it in the freezer or under the mattress, but no. So, like where, so I would put it in a bank account or the credit union. What was my what was my purpose for saving? And then how was I going to save? So now the mindset that I had to get into was that Warren Buffett, my husband is a Warren Buffett buff. And a few things that he said was, if you're not making money while you sleep, you will work until you die. And I don't know, no, thank you. So, that was another reason that I saved. Also, when you go from saving to investing, you need to be able to set that money aside. I always say when you go from saving to investing, it's like a diet. At least for me, if I decide, you know what, I want to lose whatever a number of pounds, and I go hard that first 2 weeks, I cut out all sweets, I cut out all starches, I exercise 2 hours a day. Yes, I may lose that weight quickly, but guess what? When I pass McDonald's or KFC and I go, I do want a number one with some nuggets and a milkshake, that weight is going to come back, and probably twice as much. So it's the same way with investing. If you can't leave that money there for 10 or more years, it's probably not wise to invest it. Save it, yes, but investing is not the money that you can go to the ATM and get. Investing is not the money that you're going to use to buy Christmas gifts this year, or the money that you're going to use to go on that girls' trip this year. That's savings. So you have to have the mindset and know the difference. Also, the idea for us with savings was not to try to beat the market, but try to match the market. We see how beating the market works out. I mean, Martha Stewart. So, you don't want to do that. You're just trying to match the market. Now, my first experience with investing. Do you remember WorldCom with Bernard Ebbers? Yeah. Well, WorldCom came and gone because I had finally saved up that 6 months salary, saved up $5,000. Again, early 2000s by this time, bringing home about $1,300 US a month, still had a house note, car note, or whatever, but I'm determined to save. So got this person who, had a finance degree, who said, invest in WorldCom. Again, from Mississippi, I see WorldCom when I pass, I see it on the street. Big building, the whole rave is WorldCom. So I take this $5,000 entrust this person to invest it in WorldCom and penny stocks. 2002, WorldCom goes bankrupt. WorldCom is bought out by MCI. Bernie Ebbers goes to jail. My $5,000 still right there because I had no idea. You probably need to move that because your $5,000 is becoming $3,000, $1,000, $28. I had no idea. So it got so bad that after a while, the investment company was sending me bills because I still had to pay that fee. So bad decision. So what did I do? I got a little bit leery, and instead of investing again for decades, I was just putting my money in savings accounts and in the credit union. But then I met my husband, and he had been talking to a young man who was a manager at a discount clothing store, and he had shared with him some information about how he had invested and had become a multimillionaire. Again, manager at a clothing store, salary probably about the same as a teacher, but he had become a multimillionaire. And I'm thinking, okay, that sounds good. And it wasn't well, this is hot today, so let's do it. No, he had actually taken that money, saved it up, and invested it. And he invested it into index funds, which Roy will tell you more about later. Now, before you invest, you have to know your risk tolerance. How much can you handle as an investor? So, of course, that's going to be determined by how much money you could possibly lose. Now, no one goes into a marriage saying, I'm going to get a divorce. No one goes into investing saying, I'm going to lose my money. But those things can happen. So, like with the $5,000, I mean, if that, it could have been a make or break situation, but I lost it, and I had to tolerate that loss. And I couldn't blame anybody. I mean, I couldn't go to jail and say, look, Bernie Ebbers, you owe me $5,000, So, I mean, it was just a loss. Also, your risk tolerance is affected by the amount of time you are willing to leave that money there to grow. Because what do we want? Compound interest. And also, what is your emotional ability to handle the risk? If something goes awry, can you actually handle it? And just think about all the other people that you are affecting. Now, there are so many different kinds of ways to invest. So you have to know exactly what you have to know about it. I mean, I must say, the knowledge about investment is really, my husband's thing, and I trust him. So, but when it comes to stocks, I mean, they're great, but you really need to know what you're doing. For us, index funds was a lot safer. So again, I said you need to know the difference between savings and investing. Saving, trying to save up a certain amount of money for a year, Christmas gifts, a trip, to pay off this bill. I can go to the ATM and get it. With investing, is long-term goals. I'm going to leave that money there. So when I want to retire, I can retire. Or it might be when my children are 3 years old now, 3 and 4, I want to be able to send them to college. Or it might be just having it there as and I won't touch it. It's not the money that I need to pay my mortgage or to pay a car note. So there is a big difference between savings and investing. But the thing is, they're connected, because the savings that you have, if you can save it and not need it immediately in the short-term future, then you can invest it. And of course, the interest rate will be a lot more. So my husband is going to talk a little bit more about index funds.
All right. So when you look at index funds, basically they are benchmarks. They're saying that you're guaranteed to earn a certain return on whatever you put into the stock market. Now you have S&P 500 index. Those are U.S.-based companies. The largest 500, really 503 U.S.-based companies. You have the NASDAQ. They have their index. You have Dow Jones Industrial Average. NASDAQ is just technology companies. Dow Jones Industrial Average, the 30 largest companies. So What we went with was the S&P 500 index, because when you looked at the history of the S&P 500, when they started tracking it since, I think, 1923, 24, it went down maybe 5, 6 times over all of those years. But on the flip side of it, it was up those remaining years. So that's why we decided to go with the S&P 500 index. And it's this basically you're diversifying your portfolio, you're investing in multiple U.S. companies. So if you committed $100 to an index, to the S&P 500 index, then your brokerage account basically will divide that $100 equally among those 503 U.S. based companies.
Also, with index funds, they're a lot safer than individual stocks, because when I invested in WorldCom, if I would have invested in the NASDAQ index, I would have lost all my money. It would have grown, even though WorldCom was not successful.
Now, when you look at the average rate of return for different products, of course, we're familiar with savings accounts. They generally give you about 2% return on whatever you have in there. Skipping to the third one, you see the certificates of deposit. These are from banks. They mature at different rates of time. They'll give you about 4.5%. But what we wanted again was focus on was the S&P 500, because over the course of that, we're okay with earning about 11%, almost 11% yearly on whatever we've invested versus earning 2%. And you have to look at it from a compound interest standpoint that we're going to talk about on the next slide. What the banks basically do is in investment brokerages, companies, they take your interest rate, divide it into 72. That tells you the amount of time it's going to take for your money to double. So let's say you've invested, let's say in your savings account, you're earning 2% interest. So basically what you do is divide that 72 by 2. And what you come up with is half of that, which is 36 years. So it'll take you 36 years if you leave that money in your savings account to double. Personally, think about the 11% that you could earn if in the amount of time, less time it takes for your money to double, if you are investing in what we consider the S&P 500 index. So this just gives you different examples from a CD. It would take you 16 years to government bonds. Those are bonds you've heard issued by different cities. They're trying to do construction projects or some type of projects, whatever. They're safe, but then look at the return rate, which is about 5.9%, 6%. Then we're all familiar with mutual funds, but again, we want to focus on the S&P 500 index. So some things that you have to consider when investing is the yield. What return do you want? Safety. Again, that's why we went with the S&P 500 index. If you're into Bitcoin or you want to know about it, they have an index for Bitcoin also. But one thing I want you to a philosophy to adopt is when everybody's running away from the market, that's when you need to run toward it, because that means the prices are going down. And then the risk tolerance, the time maturity that you want to allow your money to kind of turn and earn that compounded interest.
So if nothing else, to take away from what we've said, is the main thing is to invest in you. Before you invest in the stock market, savings, and whatever, to invest in you, because investing in yourself is definitely the most important investment that you can make.
Excellent. Thank you so very much to the Dr. Popes Both of them are doctors, so thank you so much to you both. And also for those of you who may be interested in public speaking, I am hosting a public speaking masterclass coming up on December the 9th. It is only 200 dirhams, and we also have a public speaking group, a master club group, that I share tidbits about how to become a master speaker. I share tidbits with them every other day. So if you would like to be part of that group, also you can just send me an email and I will also send you the message to be part of that group. And again, if you join me on the 9th, just for joining us here today, you will receive 50% discount on that as well. So that means that you will be able to attend the master speaking course for only 100 dirhams. Come on, you guys, you cannot beat that. We spent 100 dirhams at McDonald's for 100 dirhams, and we're keeping the class size down to only 12 people. So that way you can get that one-on-one coaching time that you so desire. So again, on December the 9th, we have the master's class coming up, 50% off for you, just because you're special and you decided to spend your evening with us. So that's only 100 dirhams. And then coming up in February, we have the Bold and Brave Relationship Edition. We're going to talk about how we can change strangers into allies, building better relationships all the way. Okay. So with that being said, and talking about getting in investments and investment portfolios, I think this is the perfect segue to come into our favorite girl, Miss Tendayi, who is coming to us from the UK.
Hey, hello. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Dr. Roy and Carisa and Sandi, and Dr. Loretta for inviting me. So privileged to be here. As I was looking at your profiles and what you do, I thought, oh my gosh, I can't wait to tuck into this because, it's a lifelong journey of learning. You're always learning. And I want to see if I can share my screen. No, stop share. Don't want to share that. That's okay. I'll just read off it anyway. What I wanted to talk about today is about possessing your land. And when I say possessing your land, there's the theoretical going out and buying property or buying land, but your land is what you want your life to look like. What does your good look like? And using obviously it'll cost you money, it'll cost you time, it'll cost you resources, but yeah, using financial literacy and the tools that are available to do that. As I mentioned earlier, I'm an independent mortgage and insurance advisor, so went on ahead, did economics and finance after spending a gap year working at a bank in a credit card center. And somewhere along the line, so I was in banking, doing pensions, investments, mortgages. And at a certain point, I found myself, as a single mom with a little one, I'm thinking, okay, what am I going to do here? At that point, I had nothing but £400 in my account, and the reality of childcare and possibly having to spend all the hours to pay for this childcare. And it was at that turning point, I thought, okay, this is not going to work. If I'm the only person in this child's life, I literally need to be present as a present person. This is another whole life that's I'm responsible for. Went on and did life coaching, and then decided to step out and work as an independent advisor. And it's been an amazing journey. It's, as Dr. Loretta says, it's not a straight line of woo, but, starting your own business, learning the rules, learning the legal contracts and agreements, all things that are part of the financial journey that every individual has. So I'm going to just touch base on a few things that I think are really key in this concept of building generational wealth through financial literacy, because we're all out there spending time, whether it's building a business, property portfolios, but if you don't tie the knots and the loose ends along the way, all your good work can go down the drain. If you don't read the contracts and agreements, you could end up not in a fantastic position. So when I was just thinking about our session today, I wanted just to share a few key points Let's just go through them here. Currently in the UK, you know, we've had a series of interest rate rises, which has meant that the mortgage payments have just skyrocketed after 10 years of having virtually, you know, mortgage rates at between 1.5%, 2%. They've gone up to 5-6%. And you can imagine if you had budgeted your finances based on a 1.5-2% mortgage deal, and you're coming out of it and you're faced with 6%, and you've got a big house, that's like, where is that difference in the money going to come from? There is a squeeze everywhere. The wars in Ukraine, all sorts of things have meant prices even in the supermarkets have edged up so quickly. And I don't know where, you know, in Dubai, whether you're also feeling the squeeze, but in the UK, most people are really feeling that pinch and that squeeze economically. So these economic cycles throughout life will always happen. There will be peaks and troughs and impending recessions. But the one thing that you can do along your journey is to clearly always have a design of what is your life plan. What is it that is important to you? And at what stage of your life are you at? You know, have you got young children? Have you got aging parents that you need to look after? And as you do that, as you design your life plan and focus on what's important to you, you're not necessarily swayed by what everyone else is doing. And you can actually take decisions that may mean that whilst you've got your short-term, medium-term, long-term goals, you make changes based on what is really important to you. I loved Sandi when she was talking and she was saying, you know, the more income that comes in, you find yourself spending more. And then it's like, how can you cut back? How can you move from the suburbs of a big, lush house? What will people say? And I remember when I left the bank, I had a lovely company car, you know, all the perks that come with it. And stepping out on my own, it was a case of, my cousin's like, Tendayi, I've got a little Ford Fiesta or, you know, a Golf that's got rust inside. It'll move you from A to B. Do you want it? And I had to say, yes, I'll take it. But I remember getting to seminars and parking around the corner where no one else could see because I was embarrassed. I was thinking, gosh, people will think, oh, how the mighty have fallen. But you know what? Again, I think one of the speakers said, you need to look and do what is important for you and where you are. So having that reality check as you design your life plan, saying, where am I realistically? What am I faced with? You get a diagnosis of a certain illness, you can't push yourself as much. You really need to be concentrating on your health is your wealth. The next one is understanding the gears of finances and what the best tools are and how you can use them. I call these gears making money, spending money, growing your money, protecting your money, borrowing money, and passing it on wisely. It's like if you imagine yourself in a car, most people are fixated, oh, I'm on earning 300,000 a year, I'm making $1 million a year. But in my years of advising clients, I've seen people earning a lot of money, you know, a lot of money, but spending it all as well, you know, and maybe not necessarily on things that really make a big impact or difference in their lives, the frivolous things that if life were to shift in a moment, they would really struggle. And so, you know, how are you spending? Is it aligned with that life plan that we talked about earlier? Where are you putting some of that money? Sandi was talking about pay yourself first, you know, let that money go and grow and do something for your future. Protect your money. You'll be amazed how many people with children don't even have a basic life insurance policy. And that's one of the things that used to really, you know, egg me, so to speak, because, you know, we're all going to leave this earth at some point. And if you were to go now, because we all want to make it till, sorry about that. We all want to make it till a good, long, healthy life until we're in our late 80s, 90s, 100s, but you just never know when you're going to leave. And if you do, if there are people dependent on you, if there are borrowings that you've taken out, are they going to be settled? As you're borrowing money, have a look at, okay, is this a need or is it a want, or is it necessary to borrow for this reason? Is there a return going to come from this borrowing? And obviously, I look at mortgages, the roof over your head. Rentals are extremely expensive. It makes a lot of sense to buy a house. At the end of it, at least you'll have a roof over your head once you've cleared the debt off. And then, yeah, passing it on wisely. Have you put your will in place? You know, do we know what's going to happen when you go? It's such an emotional time. We've just gone through COVID and loads of people lost loved ones. You know, people who didn't expect to go at the time that they went. Some young people. Just have it down so that it leaves less stress for your loved ones. You know, be clear about who you want to receive what. Have you got trust, the right trust and things and like that in place as well? And then, you know, as we're journeying, as we're going along, we're emotional people. Some moments we're happy, we're sad, you know. And one of the things that really gets tampered with is the next point I'm going to talk about is building a healthy relationship with money. Someone said, make money your friend. You're going to need them all throughout your life. So as you're spending your money, as you're investing, really have a thought, am I, with the decision I'm making now, is this going to work for me? Is this money going to work for me? These habits that I've picked up that are not healthy, where have I picked them up from? Some of the things are generational, you know. Grandma used to do it, mama used to do it, and I'm there as well. When there's a sale, we're all rushing for the sales. But is there anything that you actually need in the sales? Why are you there? You know, we don't run and buy investments or gold. You know, when we hear house prices crash, emotionally we think, oh, stay away. But actually, it means there are bargains on the table and something that if you're focused on your life plan, something that will actually appreciate over time and look after you. So really just assessing how where's my relationship with money at the moment, and the things that happen in life affect us. You know, we go through divorces, separations, heartbreaks, which cause us to, oh, I just need to feel good, I'm gonna go and do this. And so if that becomes a pattern and it's not necessarily a healthy pattern, just doing that sense check in itself will be like, okay, Tendayi, you need to nip this in the bud. This is a little bit out of hand. This is overcompensating with what I have. And then accessing your wealthy place. One of the wonderful things that I've really discovered over time is, you know, regardless of where you are in life, in the same way that the economic cycles go up and down, you know, we're all here for this limited time or set time that we have here. But there are 4 currencies that every single day our account is loaded with, is full to the brim. And one of them is time. You each have 24 hours a day, and the choices that you're making daily, you know, what you choose to do, where you choose to invest your time. You know, was it Dr. Roy, you said, invest in yourself. You are going to be with yourself all throughout. And we can keep complaining about, oh, things are getting hard or whatever. But if you're not adding value to your life, if you're not adding value in you know, to who you are, to the income that you can command in a field, you know, you've got 24 hours like everybody else loaded every day. Your relationships, I cannot overstate, you know, the value of the right relationships around you. Many a times, you know, things that would cost others a fortune, just because you're in the know with the right person, you can get that, you know, for next to nothing. That free advice, you know. Dr. Loretta, when I was looking at the ticket price for this, I said, wow, this has been a table that has been prepared for people to come and partake and receive this riches. How many people have recognized that, you know what, there's a good meal on that table that I need to partake of, or have they chosen to go to McDonald's instead and spend that $20 at McDonald's, you know? Nuggets that will last you a lifetime, that will change your trajectory and your mindset, because you know, you only know what you know unless you step out and sit at a table with other people who give you other information prior to what you knew. The very next contract you need could be in our midst right now. So it's all to do with our relationships. The other currency is your gift, skills, and talents. You know, what do you have in your hand? Everybody has something, and you can monetize that. You can use that to help you access that wealthy place. And it also determines where you choose to position yourself. And you know, on the society mountains, you know, there's the media mountain, education mountain. Are you getting the best value for who you are and what you carry? Because again, you know, you were saying educators, we don't get paid a lot. Yeah, it's so true, you know, and yet your value, no one could be doing what they were doing unless someone had taught them to do it, you know. So sometimes it's about thinking about yourself and thinking, okay, this is a skill that I have. Where else can I put this gift in a place where it can make room for me? And then stepping out and you know, I call it faith or risk-taking abilities. You can't afford not to do anything. Inflation, just as a favor, in the last year, inflation in the UK has been over 10%. That's ridiculous, you know. So doing nothing is not an option. You know, the wave of changing times will come and go over you. So you have to do something. But what is it that you're going to choose to do? And then when I say possessing your land, it's the most recent book that I've written called Overcoming the Mindset and Mental Issues Affecting Your Finances. Just this week, I had to sense check and say, oh my goodness, you know, there's procrastination, pride, indecision, impatience, laziness, lack of discipline, discouragement, ignorance, poor strategic thinking, insecurity, poor communication, shame, strife, self-sabotage, all things that, you know, they affect how we decide. You could have a very good advisor giving you sound advice, but because of pride, and you just think, well, no, I won't need it. But they're literally giving you facts and figures statistically of, I recommend you do this. And, you know, and you, because of pride, you choose not to take it, and says pride comes before a fall. When you fall, then you think, oh my goodness, someone told me about that. So really being mindful of the mental and mindset issues that you have to struggle with, that you're contending with. I saw procrastination rear its ugly head in my week this week. I had a subscription to something that I was not using, that I had to cancel, right? And of course, on your to-do list, you have things to do, and it's there on the to-do list, but I somehow skimmed over it because, as you probably all have experienced nowadays, it's very easy to subscribe to something, but you try and unsubscribe to something, it's a hoop and a lock, and it's not that easy. And it was quite a substantial amount of money there. And so I left it. At the same time, I had some money that was due me, a commission that was due me, and I needed to allocate it because it hadn't allocated well, and I needed to go in. But because of all the bombardment of things that were going on during the week, I neglected that. And then I thought, whoa, hold on a minute. Look at how procrastination is affecting my money. On the side of money coming out unnecessarily, me not taking that action to stop that direct debit, to stop that regular payment, even $1.99 on Apple Play or something which you're not using over periods of time. Imagine what would have happened if you had put that in Dr. Roy and Carisa's index fund, where it can work for you rather than, you know, allowing it to go. So we have so much within reach right now that we can actually use, and just sitting back, taking stock, pausing, being clear about, you know, what is it that I want? You know, do I understand all the gears well? Am I using them right? Am I borrowing where for the right things? What rates am I on? Just having that reality check. And the more we do this, it becomes almost fun to say, you know, because it doesn't have, you don't have to bury your head in the sand anymore. Checking what's my financial passport looking like, which is your credit rating. You know, so many people by thinking, oh, my credit is poor, you just, and you bury your head in the sand, you never look at it, you never think, how can I improve it? It means that actually you're paying above the odds for everything else that is going out there. So I think those are my key points.
Thank you so very much, Thank you so very much, Ms. Tendayi, for sharing. Look, I was listening to you and some of your key points that I think we always forget about those subscriptions. Like those subscriptions, you look around and they happen so quick and they happen so easily. At one point I had 2 Prime subscriptions going to Amazon and I can only order from one account. And so we have to be mindful that the $1.99, and now they're charging the international fee for that $1.99 for those of us who are here. You want to be mindful of those subscriptions that you have going out, because that is money that is being wasted every single month, or in some cases every year. And also I want to go back to what you started with. Read the contract, read the terms. Often because we're not familiar with banking and finance, when they hand us a contract, we'll normally take it and we'll just sign it and give it back. Please take the moment and read it and try to glean as much from it as you can. Don't take for granted that when whoever the person is giving you that contract, when they say, oh no, it's just saying that you're giving us permission to invest your money. What kind of permission am I giving? So you want to make sure that you stop and read those contracts. Those were the 2 things that really stuck out. And most importantly, I think even above those things are, what is your life plan? Like Miss Queen Sandi said, like Dr. Roy and Carissa, and even Tendayi. What is your life plan? What are you planning to do? How would you like, and how far would you like your money to go? That's the most important thing. We have to start with a life plan. And I share this often. Our parents only knew how to put money in the bank. That's what they told us, because that's what they knew. You put the money in the savings account, or you put it under the mattress, or you hide it, you hide it somewhere. We now have a wealth of information right at our fingertips, where we can now learn so much more about the importance of investing and putting our money in different. Excellent. Thank you so very much. Thank you so much for all of my guests who joined us today. Do a round of applause. Yay. Thank you so much. Building a strong financial house, that's just important, just as important as us building any other houses, to make sure that we build a strong financial house. I want to take this time now to thank everyone for joining us today for the Bold and Brave Finance Edition. Now, before I close out, I want to share with you that coming in February, we have the Bold and Brave Relationship Edition coming. And the theme for that is going from strangers to allies. So we're going to be covering people you don't know. If you're in a relationship, a marital relationship, we're going to be covering relationships from every angle. It will be on February the 10th. Now, for every person that joined us today, you will automatically get 50% off. Yes, 50% off the registration for joining us for Bold and Brave, the Relationship Edition, happening in February. Don't worry, you don't have to remember. We're going to shoot you over an email. We'll shoot you over an email just so you can register. So don't worry about it. We got you covered. And also, for those of you who may be interested in public speaking, I am hosting a public speaking masterclass coming up on December the 9th. It is only 200 dirhams. And we also have a public speaking group, a master club group, that I share tidbits about how to become a master speaker. I share tidbits with them every other day. So if you would like to be part of that group, also, you can just send me an email and I will also send you the message to be part of that group. And again, if you join me on the 9th, just for joining us here today, you will receive 50% discount on that as well. So that means that you will be able to attend the master speaking course for only 100 dirhams. Come on, you guys, you cannot beat that. We spent 100 dirhams at McDonald's for 100 dirhams, and we're keeping the class size down to only 12 people. So that way you can get that one-on-one coaching time that you so desire. So again, on December the 9th, we have the master's class coming up. 50% off for you just because you're special and you decided to spend your evening with us. So that's only 100 dirhams. And then coming up in February, we have the Bold and Brave Relationship Edition. We're going to talk about how we can turn strangers into allies, building better relationships all the way around. Again, I'm Dr. Loretta. We thank you so very much for joining us this evening. May God bless, and we'll see you next time. Bye.